Deploying redundant links on a Palo Alto firewall is not always an easy thing to do, and I'm going to show you why. So if we look at this topology, we have this Palo Alto firewall, and on interface 1/2 is connected to its LAN network, the 10.1.0.0 subnet. And here on interface 1/1, we're just going to look at this one, is connected to this router ISP, kind of the connection to the internet, okay? And through this link, we are able to access this server. So the clients or the hosts on this network, they reach the server by passing through the firewall, getting through this router ISP link, and then they reach the server on this IP address 10.10.10.10.10. Now, for some critical business, they might want to have two links via different ISPs. So in this case, we're going to add a secondary link via this router ISP. Now, the thing is that we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to deploy this link? Is it going to be a backup link of the primary one? Is it going to be like an active link, meaning we're going to share the traffic, the load between these two links, or we want this link to be used only for certain traffic on the primary one, and we want only to use the second one for other specific traffic. So there are a lot of questions that we have to ask when we have two links via different ISPs. Now, to keep this simple, let's suppose that we want to deploy just one link as the primary. Let's suppose this one is going to be the primary, and the second one, the yellow one, is going to be the secondary link. So which means that at all times, the first link will be working as the primary. Now, the question is how the firewall is going to know that this link is actually working. What if we have a problem on this link because we're going only to use the secondary link if something happens on the primary link? Now, you might say, well, Silesio, if the connection is broken, if I disable this interface on the firewall or here on the router ISP, well, that information will be removed from the routing table of the firewall, and the firewall will be able to use the secondary link. Yes, if something happens at the physical level, but in a production environment, you might actually have the CPE. That's normally the device that the ISP install at the client, and this might be a switch port, or actually you might have the device connected to the firewall. In this case, this interface is up, but you have a problem on this interface. The firewall won't have any visibility at all that there is a failure between this router ISP and this server. So it means that if something happened on this link, let me remove it. So if this link was removed, from the firewall perspective, we would still be sending traffic towards the ISP, but the ISP wouldn't be able to send these to the destination. And we want to be able to give some visibility to the firewall about the end-to-end connectivity to the server. And one way to achieve this is by deploying path monitoring. And as the name suggests, the firewall will be able to monitor the link status for each of these links, whether it's the primary link, whether it's the secondary link. And that's what we're going to deploy in this video. So let me show you what is the current scenario right now. So let's look at my configuration. So right now it's a basic one, okay? So if we look at the interfaces, so I only configure the public IP address, so 19.141. This is where the interface 1/1 connects to the router ISP. And on the LAN side, we will only focus on this network 10.1.0.1, and this acts as the default gateway for the inside network. And we have the other link that's connected to the interface 1/6 that connects to the router ISP2. Now, if we take a look at the policies, this is the traffic that we are allowing our inside network to access the internet. So that's very basic, like we are allowing the 10.1.0.0 to access the outside network only for these applications, ping, telnet, traceroute, so that we can test some reachability there and nothing else. And if we take a look at our net policies, we should have like a basic path or port address translation, translating every traffic come from the inside zone to the outside zone, living on the interface 1/1, coming from the subnet 10.1.0.0 going to any destination, will be translated to the interface outside the IP address 19.1.4.1. So if we bring Linux 5 PC, let's see if we can ping this server 10.10.10.10. That should work just fine. And I also enable telnet on that router. And let me log in. Okay, and if I run the command show users, we can see that this Linux PC is arriving on that server as the IP address 19.1.4.1, and that's the public IP address of the Palo Alto firewall via ISP1. And that's going to be very easy to understand. So 19, this is just the first octet. The second octet, that's going to be the firewall. 4, that's going to be the router ISP. In this case, the router ISP is number 4. And the IP address .1, that's going to be the lowest IP address on a specific subnet. In this case, that's going to be the firewall public IP address. So it's working just fine, okay? So now let's enable the secondary link via ISP2. So let's go here, network. I've already configured the interface, okay? So we have here 19.191. So we know that when we configure the network towards the ISP to the internet, we have to configure default gateway. In this case, if we go to virtual routers configuration, I'm just using the default one. Let's go to static routes. We should have one static route towards the router ISP. Okay, so if I open these, okay, this is what I have. So default route to ISP1. We have, if we want to get to any destination, that's the interface we're going to use, and that's the next hop IP address that we're going to use. Okay, so now let's create a new one, because what we're saying is that we won't have a second default route, but this time towards the next hop of router ISP2. So I'm just going to clone this. I'm going to change the name here to ISP2. The interface is going to be /6, and the IP address, I gotta change that again. So 0.0.0.0, and the IP address is going to be 19.1, that is 9.9. Okay, now the admin distance, we're going to leave as it is. Recall that admin distance is used to differentiate when we have the same routing information from the same protocol, and we want to choose which one is going to be the preferred one. Now, because those are static routes, we're just going to leave 10 as default, but we're going to change the metric. Now, the metric is one of the things that we use, or the firewall use, to set which one is going to be the preferred route when it has two routes to the same destination. The lower the better, which means that if we want to use the path via ISP1, so we're going to leave this as default, or we can reduce, or we're going to increase the metric via ISP2. Okay, so I'm just going to increase this to 20. Okay, and I'm going to save. So now we have two default routes in our table, and let's save this. Okay, and so now in terms of policies, let's see, do we have to change something? Yes, actually we have to change also net configuration, because if you recall, this net policy will only affect traffic that it's leaving through interface 1/1, and we need another one for traffic that is leaving via 1/6. So I'm going to select this policy, and I'm just going to clone. Okay, and now let's change this one. Okay, and let me change the name here. So it's going to be ISP2 original packet. So it's coming from layer 3 inside zone, going to layer 3 outside zone. The destination interface, that's one going to be 1/6. The source address is going to be the same one. Now let's go to translated packet. Dynamic IP and port, interface address, we're going to change this to be interface 6. The IP address, it's going to be 19191. Okay, so we're going to save this. Okay, so now everything is done. Let's commit those changes. Okay, the policy is deployed. So now if we bring our Linux 5 and let's test ping, still working, right? And if we go to network, virtual routers, let's go to more runtime stats. You should see that now we have two default routes, right? So we have this one. This is going to use the router ISP1 as the next hop. You can see a lower metric, and this is the active one via interface 1/1. And we have another one that's going to be via router ISP2, higher metric. It's installed, it's static, but it's not active. Okay, so we can see that we're still using that link, which is working, but let's simulate a failure here by disabling the interface on the router ISP. So if I shut down this interface, actually, let's see. So our client stops reaching the server. Well, from the network perspective, everything seems to be working just fine, meaning the client is sending traffic to the firewall is sending to the ISP, but the ISP doesn't have this information in its routing table. So because I disabled this now, take a look at the show IP route. It doesn't have any information in its routing table about how to reach the IP address 10.10.10.10. So once I enable this interface again, let's give it a couple of seconds. If we look at the routing table, we can see that we have 10.10.10 back again, reachable via this server. And from our Linux PC, should be able to restore the communication with the server. Okay, so how do we fix this? How can we give visibility to the firewall about a problem on this path? So let's go back to our firewall, back to our virtual routers default state route, and we want to enable path monitoring on the default route towards ISP1. So we're going to edit this one, and here we're going to enable path monitoring. Okay, what do we want to do? So let's add a condition. Let's say monitor link via ISP1. Okay, so the source IP, it is going to be 19.141. That's going to be the outside interface of the firewall. The destination IP, that's going to be 10.10.10. Okay, and we want to send this every 1 second, and we want to be detected as soon as possible. Like if it misses 3 packets, it's going to fail over to the secondary link. Okay, and we're going to save this. Now there's something that I also want to adjust here, and that's the preemptive hold time. It means that when the link is restored, it's going to wait a certain time before the link will go back to the first one. So I'm just going to make this 1 minute. That's the minimum we can get, and that's it. Okay, so we're going to save this, and so now we're going to save this and commit those changes. Okay, the changes were applied. So if we go to more runtime stats, should see that everything's still normal, right? And we should still be using the link via ISP1. So now let's shut down the interface again. Okay, and what I expect to see is that we're going to miss a couple packets, but then the firewall is going to fall back to the other link, and we can see that now it's working. So it's now using the secondary link. Okay, if we refresh here on the firewall, you should see that now we only have one default route, and this is towards the router ISP2, and this is the active one we're using, the interface 1/6. So even from our Linux PC, if we telnet to 10.10.10, that's going to be Silesio. show user, we should see that now we are arriving with a different IP address, and this time is 19.199 is the router ISP2, and this is the IP address of the Palo Alto firewall, which means it's working. So that's how we can use some intelligence to the links we have towards different ISPs. Now, if you go back to, let's see, forwarding table, I think that's static route monitoring, we see that the path monitoring, it shows down. So now let's restore the link. Okay, and we can see that it's going to turn to green. And if we send ping, so this will continue working. And if we refresh this, you should see that it's up now. But because of that, whole time is going to wait for 60 seconds before restoring to the primary link. So once this timer expires, we'll be using the primary link again. Okay, we can see that now it shows as up. So if we go back to our route table and refresh, we should see that now we have two default route inside again, and we are using the link via ISP1 as the primary, as the active one. So the ping still running here, and if we telnet to the server again, so Silesio, okay, show users, should see that now we are using the primary link again. So this is it, guys. This is how you deploy path monitoring on a Palo Alto firewall. I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.